I always do that. Mic check, mic check. How y'all doing tonight? Getting this Zoom call started. All right, that's better. Sorry, y'all, it took me a while to find the stream music that I need to go ahead and shut down. How are y'all doing this evening? If you will, if you're willing and able, do me a favor. Location and age in the comments. I want to understand where you're calling in from, where you're watching me from, how old you are, and kind of what your general goals are. What I will do right now, I'll go ahead and put the Zoom link here in the chat room just in case anybody wants to chop it up a little bit tonight. We're going to be talking about the last 8 years of my investing journey. These have been my entire investing journey, by the way. Drink of the evening is Mountain Valley water because I love it. And you got to stay hydrated around here, especially where I live at. It's real dry out here. But how's everybody doing? Starting a little later tonight than usual, just because of the simple fact that I needed to get a little more rest in. I've been working out pretty heavy this week, so got some extra sleep. I'm a night shifter for those of y'all who didn't know, but y'all saw the thumbnail. Buy, hold, sell. That is the name of the game with what we're going to be talking about tonight, and so I hope everybody is doing well this evening. As always, I have my notes right in front of me. Kind of probably looks like a blank screen, but it's not, I promise. Camera just can't probably see it, but anyway, I have my notes in front of me for the pacing of this video. So I will be talking about my last 8 years of investing in the stock market, what I've learned, how much money I've made, and even how much money I've lost. So hopefully that excites you, because I wish when I was in my early 20s, like 21 to be exact, that I had somebody that was like an older mentor that had already been through the ringer, had already been through the things that I would essentially go through later on in life. And having extra tools in my arsenal and knowing what I could do with my money differently at an earlier age would give me a massive, massive advantage. So the question of the evening tonight is going to be, how do you personally feel about investing? Is it something that terrifies you? Is it something that excites you? Is it something that you're like, man, I can really make some money in this? Is it something that you're like, I wish I had more money to put in to investing, because if I did, then I'd be balling. You know, how do you generally feel about investing? Let me know in the chat room. I know how I felt about it at first. At first, I was like, man, because I would always hear stuff like, you know, when you invest, you're going to get something like 4% a year on average. I'm here to tell y'all I've never seen that in my investing life. I've always seen more and more to that, so I can't wait to break down the last 8 years. I have a bunch of notes in front of me, so I will be looking down quite a bit. I have net worths from every single year leading up to this year. And I even break down some of my investments, some of my profits, some of my losses, just so y'all can get a big picture view of what we're working with and what investing is all about. So yeah, that was the question of the evening. And if you're just joining, I'll reiterate the question of the evening. The question of the evening is, how do you feel about investing? Does it make you nervous? Does it sound boring to you? Does it sound exciting to you? What's your overall pulse and feel when it comes to investing? I'd love to know in the chat room. If you do me a favor, give this video a like and share this with somebody you care about. This is going to be a very valuable video today, ladies and gentlemen. So that was the question of the evening. Word of the day. The word of the day is, well, it's more of a phrase. Time value of money. What does that mean? You've probably heard of it. You might even know what it means if you're watching this, but for those who don't, time value of money simply means that $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. It's the same reason why you go to the grocery store. Eggs cost more this year than they did last year or 5 years ago, right? It's the same reason why if you go to try and buy a house today, you'll notice that they're substantially more expensive today than they were 5, 10, 15, 25 years ago, right? And so a lot of people look at this as if it's a bad thing, like, oh man, the world's going against me, buying power's down, I'm not getting a raise as quickly as I should, and so now I'm pretty much having to work more and make more than I've ever made to get the same things that I used to have. That's what it feels like. And for a lot of people, that's how it is. But what if I were to tell you that there's actually a way that you can use the time value of money to your advantage? Because keeping the logic that a dollar today is worth more than a dollar tomorrow in value, that means that if you put it into something now that then multiplies your money in the future, you will have substantially more money if you do so consistently and if you do so wisely. And that is what I'm here to talk to you about, because I'm definitely not someone who's done this wisely and correctly the entire time I've been investing. And I'm proud to say that, because I'm not some person on the internet that's going to say, I've always had the key, I've always had the answer, I've always known how to invest. I will never say anything like that, because I had to figure it out just like everyone else did. I had to read books. I had to watch hours and hours and hours worth of content. I had to understand what I agreed with, what I disagreed with, who I agree with, blah, blah, blah. I had to look at my own way of thinking. I had to look at my own strategy. I had to look at all these different things on my own. So these 8 years that you're about to hear about, they were not perfect. They were not butterflies and rainbows. They were an absolute mess at the beginning. But as I dialed in and figured it out, it became something beautiful. So I say all that because when it comes to investing, you're talking about sitting and relaxing and watching and letting that money grow and compound and eventually multiply, because not everybody wants to start their own business, but everybody wants to increase their income. Everybody wants multiple streams of income. Everybody would like to, just relax and sleep and wake up and do what they're doing throughout their everyday life and see, oh man, I done made $1,000 today. Isn't that nice? You know, it's nice to look at. It's a good feeling when you look at your phone. Oh man, today my account is up by $1,500. That's more than what most people make at work in a day. Is it like that every day? No, but it is a lovely feeling, and I want to expose you all to what that is like through my own experience. And my hope is that this inspires you to make an educated decision around, should you invest or not. Does that make sense, good people? If it makes sense, leave a comment for me in the chat room, and I'll jump right into the disclaimer, because this is my favorite way to make money of all time, because I think it's one of the easiest. That's just my opinion. Disclaimer: this show is for educational purposes only. I am not a licensed advisor. Nothing I share should be considered financial advice. Always do your own due diligence. Can I get an amen? So, here is my investing journey from the last 8 years. I hope you all enjoy. I will keep the chat room open real quick so I can see everything. The Zoom link is there if you want to call in. And I'll get started. So, started in 2017. 8 years ago, it was 2017, believe it or not. That is actually, I spent most of that year in college. In May of that year is when I graduated. 2 weeks after graduation, bam, started my full-time job. And, I was never the same after that. So, 2017, I ended the year with a negative net worth, and it was negative $29,928.36. I told y'all I'll be looking down periodically through this video. I want to make sure I have the numbers correct, which I do have them all in front of me right now. And so that was my net worth at the end of 2017. And just a little backstory, when I was in college, that was where I actually learned that investing was a thing, that you could put your money into something and make it grow. I just didn't know how. I asked my professor about it, and he essentially said, well, yeah, your 401k, that's how you do that. Because we were doing problems based on, if Jimmy over here, puts 4% of his income into a retirement account and it compounds annually or whatever the case is, how much will he have at the end of the 30th year? And we had to do calculations like that. It's called engineering economics. Really, really good class. because it made everyone in the class understand in real time why it's so important to invest at all, like retirement accounts, personal investing, all that stuff. We didn't break down what Roth IRAs were, what 401ks were on a granular level. We just kind of gave hypotheticals, but that opened my eyes to the power behind it because me being a nerd, I kind of went on my own and did my own math. I was like, okay, so for me, if I'm making this much per year, because I already had it mapped out, right? I already had mapped out how much money I'd be making when I started my career, and I was actually pretty spot on. And I was like, if I just gave 4%, I was like, matter of fact, let's do a worst case scenario. Let's do 2%. How much would it be? And let's say I get, a generous average of 4%. And then I did a 4% a year increase in wages. Then I was like, you know what? The world is crazy. I don't know what's going to happen. What if I got nothing? And then I ran calculations there, and no matter which scenario I ran, because I was so young, the results were substantial as far as being in the millions by retirement, and that's what opened my eyes to it. So when I started my job in 2017 and nothing was the same anymore, that was when I learned I had to wait 3 months to get into my 401k. And I was like, man. So throughout that time, I was kind of stressing a little bit about money. I was making a lot of it, and I was on my own for the first time, which was why I was stressed about it, because I had never had to live in an environment where I'm 100% financially responsible for myself, and everything I do. I had to, take care of a lot of things. And I was like, man, this is really uncomfortable. I have to, all my survival instincts that you could think of kicked in at the same time. That's exactly what happened. All my survival instincts, all of my worries, all my fears just basically came to the forefront. And I was like, I got to do something different. But I was on a 3-month waiting period, so I learned about how to make more money, how to save more money, blah, 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 all the things, how to get out of debt. I'm looking at Dave Ramsey. There weren't too many people on YouTube at the time talking about money, to be perfectly honest, but I was looking at anything and everything that I could find on the internet about money. I was reading articles. I was looking into self-help books. I was doing so much, and it really got me to a point where I got more business minded, as far as I want to just start my own business, make my own money, not have to rely on no job. That's better than the stock market anyway. It'll get me better returns than the stock market anyway. I didn't know a lot of things at first. So I say that to say, when it was time for me to start putting money into my 401k, I did like half of what the max contribution was in order to get the full company match. So I didn't take full advantage, of my company match. And that was the only investing that I knew of in 2017. So I kept money in my bank account, but obviously it wasn't time quite yet to start paying back student loans. I had that grace period, so I didn't pay down any debt. Had some money in my checking account, a little bit in my savings account. Debt was negative. Well, debt was $34,228, so my net worth was negative $29,928. That was my first year getting my feet, literally my toes, dipped into the waters of investing. Then we move on to 2018. This is where things got kind of crazy as far as just me aggressively saving. I was putting money into Acorns, and I had a total of $3,400. That was my account value, and it did go up quite a bit when I had money in there, but I didn't know anything about investing. And I heard about this app called Acorns, and I was like, man, I need something. And like a robo-advisor just made sense. Putting your money into a mixture of different assets, essentially, and getting the gain off of that. And I was like, why not? Put a little money here, a little money there. My overtime money was going in there, and I watched it grow. And I was like, okay, this is doing its thing. And I can't remember exactly what percentage it had increased by, but it was a lot in a short amount of time. It was maybe, somewhere between 20 and 30%. And we're talking about maybe 8 to 10 months. It was a solid return that I got from that at that time. But I cashed it out because I wanted to save more money. I was obsessed with saving money. As far as investing went, I really didn't have a passion for it, and I was like, this is good and all, but this isn't going to change my life. I did not know better, and if I would have kept on that path and been aggressively investing and putting money into different types of accounts and different assets and things like that, and got out of Acorns and got into maybe Robinhood or Webull or uh, Fidelity, Vanguard, Charles Schwab, one of those brokerages, and started investing into ETFs and stocks and really seeing what I was putting my money into, because I knew about VOO, I knew about VTI, I knew about Apple, Microsoft, Google. I knew all of these companies were hot. I knew all of these ETFs were hot. I even knew about VGT. I knew about so much, but I was so gun shy. I was like, a robo advisor can do it better than me right now. And perhaps that was a wise decision then, but looking back now and knowing what I know now, perhaps it would have been even wiser to be like, okay, while I'm doing this robo advisor stuff, I'm going to be actively learning how to invest, actively seeing where to put my money at. That's something that I would have loved to see for myself, but that did not happen. So by the end of 2018, I actually went back into all my investment accounts to get this information. I did round quite a bit of the numbers just because I don't think y'all really care too much about dollars and cents. I did put the cents in though when it came to net worth. So for 2018, I had $3,400 invested in Acorns. I had a total of $7,100 in my 401k account. Um, my debt was negative $25,983, and I paid quite a bit of my debt off. I was being very aggressive with it, and my net worth was $7,561.52. That's quite a ways away from the negative $29,928 that it just was. So I went pretty hard my first few years out of college because I had something to prove to myself. I had things that I wanted to do. I wanted to be the guy for my family to be able to lean on when they needed money. And I specifically mean my close family members that, I care about more than anyone in the world. Just to be perfectly frank, this idea wasn't just for anybody who needed it or anybody who was going to just reach out to me asking for money. I even had someone who used to be a close friend of mine back in the day, but then, things happen, had a falling out. But he was like, yeah, I need rent money. I was like, rent money? I was like, nah, see, that ain't gonna work. So what I'm saying is I had good intentions and a big heart, but I wasn't naive with it to where I was giving anybody money, even people that I didn't trust. It wasn't gonna work like that. It just wasn't. So if I had it, I was gonna help out. If not, it just was what it was at the time. But like I still had a clear goal as far as building my net worth, building my financial wisdom and literacy, and also my investing knowledge and whatnot. But I also wanted to have something on the side to help some good people out. So hopefully that makes sense. That was year of 2018. So went from negative 29,000 to $7,500 at the end of 2018. That's a crazy transition, but I made it happen. What's crazy is in 2019 some things happened. You know what I'm saying? My net worth actually dropped a little bit, just a little bit. But my 401k, I had $12,731.89 at the end of 2019. But that was my previous job. I left the job that I was just talking about where I said nothing was the same anymore. I left that job. And what I did was I went across the country, worked at a much better job, made a little more than what I was making at my previous job, and I was working half the time. Then that led to a promotion a few years down the line, which led to more investing, which we'll get into later. But all you need to know is I had two 401ks, and by the end of 2019, I actually took this 401k seriously. So by the end of 2019, I had $6,000 in my 401k account for my current job. 2019, that was what it was looking like, $6,000. My net worth was $5,631.89. What happened? I had to pay some money out of pocket to move across the country. That's what happened. That's precisely what happened, as a matter of fact. And it was honestly the best decision I've made, not just financially, but mentally, spiritually, physically, all that stuff. I could work out more. I had more freedom to do what I wanted to do. Had time to, just relax, have fun, work out, explore different hobbies, make YouTube. This is where this channel was produced in 2019. That was when I first started this channel. To be as a matter of fact, it was March of 2019. Excuse me. But that is what we were working with, folks, in 2019. That was my investing journey. And as you see, in 2019, there was no acorns. There was no nothing. I had cashed out the acorns in 2018, put it into my savings account. Probably to help me move across the country. I really don't remember the specific reason. Maybe I just wanted to feel more comfortable having that cushion of an extra almost $4,000, which, at the time, could you blame me? 22-year-old Reggie trying to figure life out, about to turn 23. I need to figure something out. That was me in 2018. But anyway, that was what I just talked about was 2019. And yeah, my cash was still looking pretty good. Had about 11.5 thousand in my account. But then 2020 happened. What happened in 2020? Well, my 401k got to $14,798.74. That's my old 401k, right? Then my new 401k, $12,100 by the end of the year. Because as we know, the market dropped substantially in 2020. Everybody was freaking out. I kept putting money in because by this time I knew better about how investing worked. And once the stock market crashes or falls, that's when you want to get aggressive. And once you do that and it recovers stronger than ever, like it always does. And you make a lot of money from it. And so I stayed on the course. And you'll see that it actually helped me out a lot with compounding up to where it is today. This is when I started my Webull account, y'all. 2020. I started with $200 in a dream. Then I put a little bit of money here and there in my Webull account as time went on. But started with, by the end of that year, it was $371.53. And do you know, I only profited like $37 from my first year in Webull. It was actually June of 2020 when I started investing into my Webull account. And that was when I was investing in the individual stocks and only individual stocks. I wasn't doing ETFs because my logic was, look, my 401ks are both in funds. So for myself, I'm going to see what it's like to invest in individual stocks and just see where it goes. And I was invested into like Visa. I was invested in the check for a short amount of time. I was invested in the Bank of America. I was invested into quite a few companies, not all in 2020, but just like I'm telling you what my first investments were and my thought process behind those. I was very much into like fintech, which is financial technology. I was into a lot of different things, but that was what my Webull account started with, y'all. $371.53. My first ever stock I bought was $200 flat. It was Visa, and that was my first investment. And then throughout the rest of that year, I would just buy a little bit here and there. And I think I bought a lot of Bank of America because it was like on the cheaper side. It was like maybe $25 or something like that, maybe less. So I just kept putting money into those. And I saw a return. A $37.52 return. That's what I got. That was what I got for profit for my first year of investing. So as you can see, it does not start off big at all. I didn't have that much money to begin with. I didn't have a lot of free money when I first moved out here. And in 2020, I was penny pinching like crazy too because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if layoffs were going to happen. I didn't know. Luckily, thankfully, I was blessed and that did not happen. But that was 2020. So let's talk about, and I also need to mention that in 2020, that was when they started putting holds as far as debt interest goes. So I did not put a single dollar towards my debt just because of the simple fact that I wanted to put more money towards myself, my education, my investing, and that paid off because I'm not going to get a medal just because I pay off my student loan super quick. What I'm going to appreciate as a person from myself is that I was able to take my resources that are not needed to go to a certain area and put it towards something special, like financial freedom. And it's hard to to say, oh man, but I'm debt free, but like you don't have anything to show for it. And I didn't want to be that guy, so I wasn't aiming on being debt free as soon as possible. I was aiming on putting as much money into the market as I possibly could, in that transition over to 2021. So let's talk about 2021. Old 401k, $17,234.63. New 401k, $34,136.47. So my first thought is like, man, I have not been here that long and my account has grown so much. I've taken it so much more seriously. Plus their match is like 8%. My old company was like 4%, right? And I was only contributing like half of that 4%. So they were only giving me half of what I was putting in anyway. So I understand on that level, but also I just think the overall investing product that I'm into with my current job is just a better investment product than I was into at my old job. Do you understand what I'm saying? So 401k I'm sorry, I already broke those down. Webull, check this out, y'all. At the end of 2021, my Webull account was $13,558.80. And I was building a solid high yield savings account, which we don't need to discuss that too much, but it was almost $4,000. Because I was like, I do need to have some cash on the side now. So in addition to my regular savings, I did start building my Marcus by Goldman Sachs account. My Roth IRA, I also started putting money into my Roth IRA. The value of that at the end of 2021 was $2,323.78. This was my first year into my Roth IRA, and I contributed precisely $1,945. So it did still grow quite a bit. And I've been into the same investments throughout the entire time that I've been in my Roth IRA. So just 4 basic investments: Apple, Microsoft, VO, VTI. I learned that from Ian Dunlap. Never returned away since, because I loved the philosophy around just having a few investments but still having your account super diversified in terms of coverage across multiple sectors, and also having 2 top of the line companies. I just thought it was brilliant. So I was like, I don't want to do my entire investing with this, but I do want to do it with my Roth IRA. So that was what I did. And ever since, it's been growing like crazy. So my net worth at the end of 2021 was $48,142.41. So as y'all can see, the growth was pretty crazy from 2020 to 2021. It's because there was a market crash in 2020. I kept investing. 2021, the market recovers. Bam! I'm in there, right? And I will actually get a little granular with y'all, like I did with my Wealth Journey Collective group. If y'all want to join that, y'all can check out the link in the description. But I got really granular with them this morning when we had our bi-weekly call, and I went over every mistake I ever made, every loss I've ever had, and all the gains I've had, and what all my profits look like just within my Webull account alone, from my first investment to my investment right now, to how my investment strategies have changed, what constitutes an adjustment in your investment strategy. I mean, really got in depth, really got into some extreme detail there as far as that goes. Let me check the comments real quick because I've been going for a while. Any questions, any curiosities, let me know. I'm going to take a sip. That was not a sip, but it's all good. All right, so if there's no questions, I'm going to go ahead and continue. Hopefully you're getting value from this, because it took quite a lot of research on my part to put all of this together. We were in 2021. 2022, the market crashed pretty heavy in 2022. It was almost like part 2 of 2020, right? As far as uncertainty and market fear and things like that. And yet my net worth still went up this year, believe it or not. Not all my accounts were positive for that year, but my net worth in general went up, and I was extremely proud of that. So 401k, old 401k, $14,212.24. And y'all are probably like, why did you keep your other 401k for so long? We will get into that, I promise. My current 401k, $41,109.29. My Webull account, like I said, it did lose some. So it was $12,564.01. If you remember back to the previous year, it was in the 13,000s, almost the 14,000. So I pretty much lost $1,000. I put quotes around it because you don't truly lose money in investing until you actually sell your investments at a loss. So if you really just hold on and wait for them to recover, you won't lose anything. That's why the first rule of investing is don't lose money. But every now and then you have to cut your losses, and I have definitely done that, and I will even share some of that with you here today. But that was 2020. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention my Roth IRA was $1,760.56. So that dropped as well. What didn't drop was my 401k stayed steady. A lot of it was due to to my company matching. And my cash, I kept building that up. I kept building my emergency fund and things like that. So I did things on the back end to make sure that I could see as much money for myself as possible. And honestly, some of it was without me even realizing it. It was just some instinctual things that I was doing. And one of the real big things around reading and educating yourselves around personal finance is simply that the more of that knowledge you have in the back of your mind and it makes sense to you and you understand how it's applied, once you get an opportunity to apply it, it will become part of your instincts. It won't be like, I don't know what to do. So like, I know it can be boring sometimes to read up on personal finances. For me, I don't really like to sit down and read as much as I used to these days just because I'm so busy. What I like to do is read audiobooks, listen to podcasts, listen to a different philosophy. There's more than one way to invest. I just prefer to long-term invest because it's the easiest way to make money. You don't have to think too much about it. You just let it ride. You do a little bit of research here and there, but you just let it ride for the most part. And I do teach around that in Wealth Journey Collective. That's actually where my stock investing course is, and it's included with your membership. So it's not like it costs $500-$600. It's just part of your membership with Wealth Journey Collective. But that's another story for another day. Right now, what we need to focus on is 2023. Sorry. I don't know if I mentioned my net worth for 2022. So let me back up. It was $50,514.99. So it still went up in 2022 despite the market crash. 2023 is when I started to kind of see it for myself because my net worth nearly doubled. If that caught your attention, you're in for a treat because it caught mine too. Man, that is some good stuff. Good water. So 2023, old 401k, $17,066.78. So as you can see, my old 401k, I was not putting any money in it. It was just growing. It was just doing its thing on its own. It was just doing what the market does when you have a lump sum of money in it anyway. Beautiful thing, right? Current 401k, $66,378.11. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. I like this. Webull account, $21,479.47. I'm seeing it for myself because in 2021 and in 2022, I was investing in a company that you've probably heard of called NVIDIA. It wasn't the only company, but it was my biggest company ever as far as how much money I made from it. On that investment alone, I'm up $19.2 thousand. Just from NVIDIA, just from investing. Oh, it's dropping. I have faith in this, investing. Boom, 2023, it took off. That's what it did. It took all the way off. And did I have my dark moments of thinking, oh man, I'm going to have to sell NVIDIA. I need to cut my losses. No, I didn't actually, because I had faith in NVIDIA based on what they're doing as a company. And that is based on research and knowing things about the market that if you don't do your own research, if you don't learn these things, you won't know anyway. So I say all that to say, largely, my account doubling or almost doubling was largely due to NVIDIA by itself. And that's including everything else that recovered too. That's including Microsoft, Apple. At the time I had VTI. That was up like $600. Apple and Microsoft were up a few $1,000s each. Like, just doing this over and over and over again. Remember, I started this account with, $200 in a dream. But guess what? 2 years after 2019, which was 2021, July 2021, I got a promotion at work. I am of the thought that I'm not going to increase my expenses just because I've increased my salary. So now I can keep living like I did when my salary was like, I don't know, maybe 30K less or so, something like that. I can live the same way I lived in, just super comfortably, and the rest of that money doesn't exist to me. It's going straight to the stock market. It's going straight to the savings account. It's going straight towards that. It's going towards something productive, but y'all know me. Most of that went to the stock market. And because it did, I was putting like $12.50 a month from 2020 to early 2023. I was being aggressive about it. I really wasn't maxing out my Roth IRA. Even if you look at the funding of my Roth IRA, 2021, I put some in there. 2022, I put nothing in there. 2023, I put 2,000 in there. 2024, I maxed it out. And this year, I'm on pace of maxing it out again. And that will 100% happen. I even planned it out since the beginning of the year. So that's a lovely thing, and that's a great thing to know. That was 2023, y'all. Y'all saw. Let me tell you my net worth. God, I'm bad about that. So, net worth for 2023, $95,530. That is how my net worth evolved. In 2023, I was 2 years younger. I was, well, when I recorded this, if we're going by when I recorded this, which was at the end of 2023, I would have been 28. And then the next year, I think it was right at January or February, that's when I hit my six-figure net worth, and I was super happy about it because I was like, man, I'm 5,000 away. 2024 was when I actually hit massive numbers, and I actually recorded my entire wealth journey for the year 2024. You can watch it here on YouTube. The whole thing has been documented. It is one of probably my most proud creations. And I was talking to one of my good Wealth Journey Collective members today. He was like, "Hey, you gonna bring back the Wealth Journey series?" And I was like, "You know what? I've been thinking about that. I've been so focused on these lives that I kind of forgot to record my own personal finance experience." And I did develop an app that actually can help me catch up with y'all on that. And actually, so you don't have to spend 2-3 hours listening to me talk about all these different financial breakdowns. I have a quarterly report and I have a yearly report. I can just hit a button and then the AI just spits out all the information, top 10 expenses from every month throughout the entire year. And then it spits out a summary and tells me what I can tighten up on and all that good stuff. So I will share that with y'all. When I start back doing those wealth journey series videos. They don't take a lot of time to make. They're very interesting in my opinion, and it's something that I did honestly get away from. So I'll have to start doing that. But I did document the entire year of 2024, what it looked like, what my struggles were, what my financial vices were. Spoiler alert, it was DoorDash. And another thing was perhaps the fact that I was manually doing my budget, and I hate manually doing budgets. Like, genuinely hate it, because even if it takes 30 minutes of my time, I'm like, man, I could have spent that 30 minutes working out. I could have spent that 30 minutes doing anything else that I find more enjoyable than sitting down, looking at my computer, typing away. I've created something that'll give you what you need to know in seconds, and accurate, pulling directly from your bank account. And I use Plaid's technology in doing this, and I had to submit a bunch of paperwork and make a lot of different things happen in order for Plaid to approve my app and all these things. And now Plaid is embedded on my app. It's a lovely thing. And I wish I would have, well, actually, I don't, because I did document that entire process. It's on Wealth Journey Collective. But not to commercialize my products or anything, but I am an entrepreneur at the end of the day, first and foremost. So I do want to let y'all know what value adds I have coming up for you. Do they cost money? Yes. Will it change your life? Yes. Yes, it will. We talked about consumerism in the last call, in the last live, I mean. So you probably know exactly what I mean when I say that. But anyway, the end of 2024, I had 100. I just spit all over my iPad. That's what hydration does to you people. But anyway, 2024, my net worth at the end of the year was $154,998. 2024 was a special year because I was actually learning on the go, and I was like, man, I need to transfer my 401k over to my current 401k. Then I went to it and I was like, oh man, it's half and half. Like it's literally half traditional, like regular 401k, right? And then the other half is a Roth 401k. And the half that was a Roth 401k was like $8,000. So I'm like, I'm transferring this over to my Roth IRA. I didn't know that. And so immediately I thought back to the years where I didn't take my Roth IRA as seriously because I skipped, like I put $1,945 in 2021. Then I didn't put anything in at all in 2022. 2022 was a tragic year for me, by the way. It was terrible. I lost a very close family member. There was a lot of stuff I went through in 2022. But 2023 bounced back, got $2,000 in there, boom. And then 2024, that was when I maxed it out. And I'm going to max it out every single time it was as often as I possibly can. I do know the backdoor Roth method, so I will be doing that once my income is too much to max out my Roth IRA the natural way, I guess you could say. But yes, that is what happened. I kind of lost my train of thought, but 2024, when I did move over the 8,000 over, I was like, man, I can replace at least 1 year and a little more, because the max Roth IRA is different every year, or every few years, because at one time the max was 6,000, then it was 6,500, then it was 7,000. So between that time, at some point it was 6,000 or 6,500. So my mind was like, oh, I'm making up for the past. I'm transferring this money over, and it's going into these same 4 investments. So even though it's going to kind of constrain my earnings a little bit because I'm putting a lump sum in now, in the future it's going to grow so much. And based on the $1,500 plus that I put my own money in there, and when I say own money, I mean out of pocket, I've gotten $6,300 back. So that's a great return. That's like 40 something percent. But that's over just a few years, and that's over me not taking it that seriously for half of the time, more than half of the time that I've had this Roth IRA. That's what we got to start thinking about. So imagine if I did take it seriously from the beginning, right? And then you add an additional 8,000 on top of that. Now we're talking. But I will say it looks like my earnings are a little truncated just because of the simple fact that I put so much money on top of it in the middle of me having my Roth IRA. I could have waited for a market crash. I didn't want to do that because I was like, look, I'm not going to touch this till I'm 59 and a half anyway. Might as well put it all in now. When I'm 59 and a half, I'll be a very happy, wealthy man. Why not? You know what I mean? So that was what I did. I did that in 2024, and I actually show it on the Wealth Journey series that's here on YouTube. So check that series out if you have not already. It is it's in a playlist form, so you can watch it very easily from episode 1 to I think I have like 30 something episodes. Excuse me. So watch that. Of course, I kept doing my Webull thing. Of course, I kept doing my Roth IRA and my high yield savings account, blah, blah, blah. End of story. My net worth went up. I just don't want to rehash it too much just because I have an entire series dedicated literally to 2024. 2025 was kind of skipped, but I will make up for that because 2025 is not over yet, and I still have the technology to show you all what 2025 looked like in a nutshell and what improvements I made from 2024, what vices I still didn't recover from in 2025, and what I plan moving forward in 2026. Life is great, y'all. Life is great. 2025. The last time I checked my net worth, which was last month, like the end of last month, it was $174,000 and some change. Well on my way to $200,000. So, my Webull account has more than doubled at this time, and my Roth IRA is looking tremendous. So I'm going to actually go into a little bit of what the thumbnail was about. Buy, hold, sell. It's literally that simple. So my net worth increased this year by over $20,000 through a market crash, even in April, March and April, I think. And I actually, at the top of the market, when I saw like really big returns towards the early summer, I sold like 77 shares of Nvidia to put into my business and to, just kind of buy some things for myself. Um, really doubled down on my hobbies and just enjoy my money for once. That was something I had a very hard time doing. But also to balance out my portfolio, because I have a certain amount that I want of my portfolio to be. Sorry, I just knocked the mic over. But I have a certain amount of money in my net worth that I want to be in the stock market. And let's say that number is like an aggressive number, like 60%. Well, at the time, that number was like in the 70 and 80%. I was like, no, I need to cash some of this out and put the money into cash so that I balance out my portfolio. So now my cash is representing the percentage that it's supposed to be. And that happens sometimes when your investments really outperform your expectations. So now you have to do something with that money to keep yourself balanced, because you need to focus on having a certain percentage. It's specifically up to you, right? There are guidelines out there, but it's also specifically up to how much cash you want to be holding. I don't believe in being cash poor. I do believe in being somewhat restrictive around how much cash you have, though. Like, just because you can have $100,000 in cash doesn't mean you should, especially if you know about how to build wealth. That's wasting money, because a dollar today, right, is worth more than a dollar tomorrow. So if you just let that sit in a bank account, you're losing money. By all technicality, you are 100% losing money. I'm a little congested, but I guess I get congested when I get passionate about things. Every time I get up here, my nose starts acting up. But that's another story for another day. What you need to know is this: I keep a good amount of cash on me to stay comfortable in case of emergency, or in case I need to help somebody out real quick. But also for future family building, for future wedding, future marriage, things like that. Like, I have my goals in mind all the time. I have them in front of me all the time, and that is one of the reasons why I really love this iPad. I didn't really know what I would use it for at first, but I did. When I cashed out Nvidia, I did spend some of that money on this iPad, and it was worth every penny. It makes me so much more productive for some reason. Don't really know why, or if it's just like a placebo effect, but it's really been awesome. But anyway, I keep my goals in front of me, and so I know how much money I want to have saved, and I have a reason for why that money is saved, if that makes sense. So save with a purpose, balance your portfolio out with a purpose. That was what I wanted to say about buy, hold, sell, because if you hold it and then you sell it when it's appropriate to do so, you're good. And keep in mind, I had like 140 something shares of Nvidia. So when I sold my shares of Nvidia, I calculated it. I looked at what the pros and cons were. The pros outweighed the cons. So I went ahead and did it. I cashed out some crypto too, and then I changed my strategy to only invest in Bitcoin for crypto. I had some Ethereum for a time, but I also realized that Ethereum is just really unstable. It's still a great piece of technology and everything, but it's really unstable. Bitcoin is where it's at, so I'm keeping it simple. The simpler you keep your investing strategy, the better. Like, I refined so many different investing strategies, and I will actually share my exact portfolio here. Let me move to what I was kind of sharing with Wealth Journey Collective a little bit today. I won't show you every single thing, but just to kind of give you a pulse around it. My Webull account profited $30,837.70, and that's with me only putting $19,000 in. So when I did sell off my investments, I sold it for quite a bit. Right now, it's up 20 something thousand dollars. Prior to that, it was up even more than that, like $12,000 more than that. Is that crazy or what? That's just a few years of some guy who didn't know the first thing about the strategy when it came to investing. I read my books, I knew things, but I didn't apply any of it, right? And so I had to get into it. Like you can learn, right, about basketball and about football. You can learn about boxing and you can read books and you can watch videos, but until you actually go out there and apply the knowledge, you're not going to know jack. You're going to get beat up, you're going to get dunked on, right? You're going to get the ball intercepted from you, right? So it's the same thing with investing. You can read, you can stay in analysis paralysis, you can learn from the best, but until you actually do the work and actually put your money where your mouth is, nothing's going to happen for you. So I wanted to share that with you. And I also wanted to share, I said in my last video, I've lost money in investing too, right? So let's look at this one account that I'm talking about, Webull. So I have taken some losses on investing. I told y'all when I first got into investing, I was heavy into fintech. Specifically, it was PayPal and Square. Those were the two. Between those two, I lost $6,800. But I just told y'all this account gained over $30,000, almost $31,000. So what's the loss compared to the gain? It's literally nothing. So what? Who cares about losing $7,000? Because I actually did lose those. I literally sold those at a loss. And you know what I did with the money? I put it into NVIDIA. And guess what happened to NVIDIA? It exploded. It went all the way up. And I was very happy. So I took a loss to win later in life. What's the harm in that? Everyone's so afraid of investing. Like everyone who watches my investing videos that haven't invested yet, right? If it's not because you didn't have enough money to do so, which I debunked that myth in the last video, by the way, but if it's not because of lack of resources, it's because of fear. And it's because, what if I lose all my money? I didn't lose all my money, but you have to have a strategy. You have to have somebody teaching you, even if it's learning from a book, but you also have to, put some money on the line and invest in the market. I put my losses in front of you. I lost some money. I'm actually I lost money in AMD too, but that was because I was a little impatient, little under $1,000, but I was a little impatient. I knew it was going to recover, but I was like, screw it. I'm putting this money into NVIDIA. And again, I took a loss to win later in life. It just so happened that later in life was a few months after I took the loss. You know what I mean? Later in life doesn't have to be 25 years from now. Later in life can be like a couple months. Sometimes you have to cut your losses. And AMD is a great company. I don't have anything against it, but I'm only investing in the best companies in the world. That is what I'm personally doing. Me. Just me. Y'all can do the VOO and VTI. Those are the best, some of the best ETFs in the world, right? I'm investing in the best ETFs in the world and in the best stocks in the world, and I'm doing so at the best prices I can get in. If you look at the average that I got into NVIDIA, it was like $43. NVIDIA is worth like $170 something. And I told you I have like 77 shares left of it. So as you can see, this wasn't just random. This wasn't just out of chance. This was a little bit of trial and error, yes, but I still knew better and I still knew about investing, and I kept doing it and doing it and doing it. So I'm putting my losses at the forefront. So if anyone is afraid of investing, think about it like this. How much money are you losing by saving so much money that isn't gaining interest? Because let's just take 2020, for example. The dollar then, you would have to spend $1.25 today to equate to $1 flat back in 2020. So if you have $20,000 saved, right now, and you just let it sit there for another 5 years, and let's say you'd have to spend $1.25 5 years from now just to get to $1 today, multiply 1.5 times 20,000 and tell me what you get. Matter of fact, I'll do it with you. I can probably do this in my head, but for the sake of accuracy, I'm not. My calculator's on my phone screen, by the way. Times 1.25, I'm tripping. Your money stays at 20,000, but you have to spend 25,000 to get what 20,000 would get you today. So you're losing money. $5,000 for every $20,000 you save. Whereas that money could have been in the stock market working for you, compounding and earning you way more than 5,000. I've earned way more than 5,000 in the stock market over just the last few years. Even with starting with a small account, even with starting with $200 in a dream. And that's not even including the 401ks or the Roth IRA. This is just talking about Webull right now. But if we're going to get technical about it, the Roth IRA started small too, because I never maxed it out at first. It took me, after the first 3 years of owning it, it took me till 2024 to actually max it out for the first time. The other years, I didn't even get halfway there. 1 year, I didn't even put nothing in it. That started off small too. And I didn't put the $1,945 in all at once. I didn't put the $2,000 in all at once. Sorry, I'm getting so congested, y'all. Hold on. This is ridiculous. I was on a roll. I'm still on a roll. I didn't put that money in all at once. I was doing like $200 a month. I was doing like, oh man, my Roth IRA, let me put $500 in real quick. Another few months goes by. Oh, let me do another 300. Oh, I got a bonus. Let me put 600. Like, I did it like that. I was not really like out here putting money into it like that. That's not what I was doing. So it doesn't start big. It's not like, oh, Reggie, I just came into some money. I got $20,000. You know, where do I put my money? That's not how it usually happens. I've had that happen before where somebody came into like multiple six figures of money and specifically asked me, where do I put my money? And do you know what? I love this person to death, but you know what happened? Nothing. He didn't follow through on it. And there's still time for him. And I would still go back to him and show him how he could allocate his money and get a massive return. I could still do that. But my point, even when you do get in that situation, if you're waiting for that situation to happen, are you actually going to do it? You're probably not if you're not educated on if you're not educated on investing, right? You're probably not going to come into $200,000 overnight and then come to me or someone else who's skilled in investing and say, where do I put my money? And then trust everything that they're saying. Because what do they have to lose, right? And so I understand it from that perspective. That's why you need to be educated. And when you're educated and someone who's better than you at investing tells you, hey, this is what I would do, then you're like, oh, that clicks, that tracks, that makes sense. But if you're not educated on investing and you're scared, you're like, I'm going to lose all my money. You will not. Like, I just told y'all what I'm invested in. And I actually forgot my Webull account. Let me talk about that. I'm going to pull it up right now. So currently, I just started building with SMH. So I have 2 shares of SMH. Got in at an average of $222. It is now $322. So that's up 44.7%. So I'm up like $200 on that, which is awesome. But SMH, Nvidia, Microsoft, Google, and Apple. And I have 41 shares of Apple, 13 shares of Google, 23 shares of Microsoft, 77.4 shares of Nvidia, and 2 shares of SMH. And my point is, you don't have to start off buying full shares. You can buy partial shares. If you have $20, you can put $20 into some of these things and let it build and build and build over the years. There's no shame in it. And as you start to invest, you will start to be like, man, I got some more money here. Oh man, you'll start to see more opportunities. It's just like when you want to buy something, you start seeing more opportunities to get that thing. This isn't luck. You know what I mean? This is being concentrated and focused on what your goals are. When I was 8 years old, I was like, Mom, Dad, I want to get a PSP, PlayStation Portable, when they came out way ahead of their time. Fantastic console, right? $200. I think it was $250 actually. And I was like, can I get one? They were like, yeah, you can get one, but you're going to work for it. They weren't going to buy it. I had to buy it. So I knew how to cut grass. I was cutting the mess out of people's grass. $20 a pop going to the neighbor's house. I kept saying opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. I was going to different neighborhoods, opportunity, opportunity. I was going to the church with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was really out here doing what I could do to make some extra money, because you know what? Then I saw a way, and that's exactly what we need to do with stock investing. That is 100% exactly what we should be doing with investing in the stock market. It's, I don't have the 170 for NVIDIA, but I do have 50 for it. Okay, cool. You put 50 in at a right price, or even let's forget about individual stocks, because I believe everybody should start with just ETFs. Don't do it like I did it. I did it a little backwards. But let's say it's VOO. I don't have 500 for the VOO, but I have 75. Okay, cool. You put 75 in. You keep putting 75 in. Guess what? If the ETF goes up by 30%, your $75 still goes up by 30%. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're still riding the same wave. You're just putting less money in. That's what's happening. So hopefully now something is starting to really click. And the thing about this channel, it was never meant to be an investing channel, and it's really a overall financial and wealth building channel. That's what it's about, personal finance. This channel is about building better men to make better financial decisions. That's what it's truly about, because we got to do better as men. We're protectors and providers. We have to do better. And it starts with making the right decision. It doesn't make sense to be stressed about money, right? But then going out every weekend. You need to figure out your financial situation before you start having fun. I'm not saying you shouldn't have fun. I'm saying you should have your life figured out a little better before you start having fun and being reckless with it on a weekly basis. And a lot of people do that, and a lot of people frankly need to hear that, just to be perfectly honest with you. And it also starts with when you're young, making wise investment decisions. I was talking to Riley last week on the call, and it was so inspirational to hear a 21-year-old say, I've been having this financial goal for years. I've been in my Roth IRA since I was 18, and I kept writing the same number down, and then boom, I'm already past that number now. I was like, crazy. 21 years old. He's going to crush everybody. I'm telling you. Him, Simon's like 22 years old. Him and Simon crushing it right now. Building their Roth IRA. Simon, he's been into his Roth IRA since he was in college. He used to actually get on my free coaching calls when I would offer them, asking me for advice. Like, hey, I'm looking at moving out of my parents' house. What do I do? What would you do? What did you do in your situation? He was asking all the good questions. And now, he's making a lot of money. I'm going to just put it like that. He's out earning most men that I know, period. Right? He is invested in his 401k, in his Roth IRA, in his individual brokerage account. Like, the things I'm saying, if you do this while you're young, you will be rich. And I think my true niche is perhaps between 18 and 25 years old. That's what I believe, because they implement, they listen, and boom, they get the results. They are going to crush so many people who have a wife and kids. I'm sorry, they are. Because they have goals for themselves that when they do have wives and kids, they're not going to be worried about none of this mess. Finance is going to be the furthest thing. So it's not just, oh, somebody had a different or better opportunity than me. The world's against me. It's not fair. No, you can do things to win later in life. And they see that vision at 21 years old. I wanted to use those two as an example because they've both been on this show. They've both been speaking on this show, and they both shared their experience, and they both asked questions. They're doing better than like 80% of adults 30 and above. That's a huge percentage for a big range of people. They're doing better than a lot of them, and they're still asking questions. What does that tell you? You have to be a lifelong student. You have to understand, I don't know everything. There's something I could still do right now to better myself in the future. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. So always ask questions. Always strive to do better in life. Investing can always improve. I've been investing in the stocks. I figured that out, but how do I get into crypto? Stuff like that. Oh, I've got a Coinbase account, but I don't really feel secure with my crypto being in that account. Cool. I'll show you how cold wallets work and what to do and how to transfer them and what to buy and what cold wallets to stay away from. Like, there's information, and I'm not saying I'm a investing master. I'm still learning every day. My point is I'm still asking questions. I'm still reading books. I'm still listening to people who are better than me, people who have gotten better results than me, people who are multimillionaires. I'm still listening to them, right? Because I listen to people who have the results that I want. And so all I'm saying is that is the secret to success right there, flat out, right in front of you. That is the secret to success. If you have learned nothing else from this video, if you say, you know what, I'm not ready to invest right now, cool. Learn that if you learn from someone who's already got the results that you want, you will get precisely what you want. You don't have to do it by yourself. I know I got fired up just now, but I mean that. And y'all can take that to church with you. So anyway, am I missing any more points for the day? Let's see. Talked about my Webull account, talked about my Roth IRA. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is the last thing. My 401k in today's time. I talked about how it evolved from like the first $6,000 back in 2019. And this is my current 401k. It's now $119,000. Once it hit the first $100,000, it wasn't too long before it became $120,000. It is absolutely amazing. And I forgot to mention what I did with the other half of my 401k. I just cashed it out and put it into stocks and crypto, and it's already paid off. As far as like, yeah, I took a 10% hit and it was taxed and blah blah blah, but guess what? The money that I put into Bitcoin and other investments like Nvidia and things like that, that money increased. So it's going to keep growing, and that money's still going to keep working overtime for me. So I say all that to let you know, it's really not like I just woke up one day to $30,000 extra dollars that I just had to just throw into the stock market. That's not what happened. Little by little, it grew. Little by little, I said, oh, here's a gap. I can put some extra money in here. Oh, I underspent my budget this time, so I'm going to put this extra money into here. Oh, like I just kept seeing opportunity. Oh, I got a bonus. Bam. Oh, I got a holiday bonus. Bam. It keeps going in and going in and going in. And then next thing you know, once something's on your mind and once you write a goal down, just like Riley was saying last time, once you write a goal down, you think about it all the time. You subconsciously think about it. You see more opportunities for it. You know what I mean? And then they just happen. Sometimes they're delayed. But the things I'm doing right now are things that I kept thinking about all the time back in 2017. I was like, man, I want to get into the stock market and I want to learn how to box. I want to learn how to do like MMA type of martial arts. I want to learn how all these things, right? I want to learn how to invest in stocks. I want to learn how to make passive income. I want to learn how to build my own business. I want my own YouTube channel. I want free time where outside of work, I can do whatever I want whenever I want without having to worry about getting called in to work. You know what I'm saying? I want to make six figures. I was thinking about all these things back then that'll become a reality just a few years later. So sometimes they are delayed, but we have to write our goals down. We have to think about them, and we have to do some action towards them every single day. We have to visualize ourselves in that. And that, my friends, is how you get exactly what you want. We got to stay out of this victim mentality. Even if you're in a rough financial spot, stay positive. That's the best thing you do. Stay positive. Keep seeing yourself in a different position. Keep working towards being in a different position every single day. Keep thinking about what you would do if you had that extra money every single day, where you would put it, what you would do with it. I want to be, a multimillionaire, yet one of my friends asked me the other day, what would you do if you had $7 million? I really had to sit and think about it. Like, do you even know what you would do if you had the kind of money that you're wanting to have? And that's something I need to tighten up on myself. But do you see what I'm saying? I understand what my limits are, and I'm doing things actively to improve upon them. So that's what my message is for you. That was my last 8 years worth of experience, and my opportunities going forward is keep investing into Bitcoin every single month. Keep investing into Nvidia and into ETFs heavily. Keep maxing out my Roth IRA. Keep maximizing my earning potential. Keep building this YouTube channel. Keep helping people in Wealth Journey Collective, and launching my app. That is what's happening, and I plan to launch the app in a few days. If things go the way that I plan for them to go tonight, I'm going to go on a coding tear. I'm going to get some things knocked out tonight. It's going to be a very good night, and I plan on having this out by end of this month, early October. That's my plan. If that changes, I'll let y'all know. But anyway, y'all, I appreciate every single one of y'all. Thank you for joining me tonight, and I will be seeing y'all next time, and y'all can look forward to seeing the Wealth Journey series come back. It will not be, maybe it will be live. We'll see. I think it's a little better though when that type of stuff is recorded, because sometimes I need to blur some things out, and yeah, I think it'll just be like in video form. But be looking forward to that. I might start that in October. We'll see. We'll see. I do have some time off coming in October. It's going to give me a little bit of time to really producing as many videos as possible, and work on my business as much as possible, because I do have a full-time job in between all of this. So anyway, appreciate you guys. Y'all have a fantastic evening. I'm signing off right now.